To the Sunday Pathshala, a rainy day here in Bangalore, and I don't know how it is out there with all of you, but it gives me a lot of pleasure here today to take up this topic, the effective connect. And before I get into this topic, I call upon co-founder of this academy, Brother Deepak, to do the introduction and talk about the objectives of this academy, which is our normal ritual before we start. Please, Deepak.
Wonderful. Thank you, Vishal, and welcome all of you to this beautiful platform which we're trying to create and to try to enable each of us to improve ourselves both personally and make ourselves much more effective and efficient as we move on in our lives. And we've started this, I think, a couple of months ago maybe, and hopefully we are gaining some traction and trying to help you move ahead in the way you learn, the way you interact with various people, the way you communicate, and the way you can understand yourself and the environment, covering a range of topics. So we have three main objectives, within the Heartful Learners Academy, and the objectives are. So Vishal, you want to flip the screen?
Yes. Sorry.
Okay, so this is me, and I've been an author, founder, speaker. Released a book called The Joyful Quotient, and also into Udemy, the Udemy platform with various courses around it. And Vishal is a businessman. He's a business start coach with a beautiful course called IUH BizKey, which some of you attended. He's been into the business of apparels and garments with a huge work experience of 24 years. With various positions as a vice president and director at various, at various places, with handling huge teams and also handling difficult operations on the retail front. And the Heartful Learners Academy is something that we envisaged a couple of months ago as we were talking, and the first objective is helping all of you with free and paid resources, various trainings that can help you improve your own personal development skills, effectiveness, and also, become heartful influencers, of communities. And the second objective, Vishal, you can flip the slide. The second objective is IUH, to identify, unlock, and harness the strengths, enabling them to earn more and more money, especially by leveraging opportunities on the internet. So this is something which is key, and we are kind of getting into it and trying to really unlock and harness various potential and various focus groups that some of you are part of. And the third objective is to motivate all the community members to pay it forward and share your personal empowerment and create a tribe and a sort of a wellness group which will help you really transmit this information out in various parameters, support each other with knowledge in a win-win situation. So these are the three main objectives. And with that, I hand it over back to Vishal, who can take it up on connecting within. He's going to run this for the next 40-45 minutes on really trying to connect, how to really connect and become effective connectors, all of us. Over to you, Vishal.
Thank you, Deepak. So today, before I start, I want to create a context, the journey so far, the 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 7 weeks journey that we've had so far. What are we really trying to do here in this community? And why does this community really exist? And how is it different from everything out there? So, Deepak talked about the objectives. In summary, we are trying to harness the power of goodness. Many times in this world, we believe that that honesty is the best policy is a cliche. It is to be talked about, but not to be implemented. I've given a lot of deep thought to this subject. Why is just a cliche and why is not a practical reality? For naming, we are calling this academy Heartful Learners Academy. Now, why the word heartful? The word, it's a very, very well-positioned word which talks about doing things in a very heartful way, heartfelt way, in a very promising way, in a win-win way. And both Deepak and me are deep spiritualists, and we are followers of this heartfulness movement for more than 24 years now. I think Deepak perhaps a little more. And my personal life has come to a point where, after leading a long spiritual life and a material life, it has come to a point where I am beginning to wonder whether this sort of an integration is possible between spiritual and material without really losing out on the material. I am from a traditional family background where we say, oh, if you're not totally money minded, if you're not cutthroat, if you're not, just like, cold, you're not going to succeed materially in life. So for me, I don't really believe that is true. I think a right application of the Western principles of management with these Eastern philosophies of being warm at heart and genuine at heart, a marriage of them sitting very nicely on top of each other is a very great success formula. That's my assumption. And this community is an experiment to test that assumption. Maybe I am wrong, maybe I am right, I don't know, but time will show. But definitely this academy is a experiment in that direction. So as as written on the slide, we can see here that there are three types of connects which are possible. Please, in today's webinar, and those who are attending it live, and I hope many of you will see it later, try to keep this context that I have said, because anyone can dispute what I am saying, and say, but if the goal and objective is to integrate material and spiritual life, where you have a material building on a spiritual foundation, then what are the principles that we need to apply? How do we marry both these two things so that there is a beautiful life, there is a beautiful loving humanity out there which is playing a win-win game. So as is on your screen, dear participants, there are three types of connections which is possible. The first type of connection which is possible is you connect with the heart, you connect with the heart and close with the heart. It's a complete love relationship. Most of us here are abhyasis of the great heartfulness system, and we understand what this means. It's all the heart. There's no brain involved at all. The heart gives, the heart receives. There is no idea of receiving and giving, and things just happen and things close. This is true love. It is a very ideal situation, but for people like us who interact with the world, we should know that this is not the usual thing. You may find it funny, but for a long time, I didn't figure this out, and I was dealing with the world outside in the same way that I would deal with someone who is very close to me and whom I would trust. It doesn't work that way. You have to temper the way you deal with the world outside. We'll get into this little more in more detail. You connect with the heart and close with the head. This is the effective connect that we are going to talk about, where you connect with the heart, but you close with the head. What it is, we will see. This presentation is all about that how your intentions are very pure, but your methods are very sharp. Eastern philosophy and the Western science of management. How do we get them both together? Okay. And then there's a third type of a connect where you manipulate, where you think that how can I cream this other guy? How do I make use of this other guy? How do I sell him this product, whether he needs it or doesn't need it? The money should come to me. How do I create a perception about the product and charge much more than what it is really worth? And then it's just perception. So the type one is not what we are talking here today. The unconditional love, the surrender. This is not what we're talking here today. Nor are we talking about manipulation, but we're talking about the second one. Okay. So this is another important context that we keep in mind. Okay. Why is my slide stuck? Just give me a minute. There's some problem with my Okay. So these are the 7 steps that we're going to discuss today. This is the setting up the agenda, and the 7 steps are there in front of you. Genuine offer or intention, that is the first step. Second is reality of self-interest. Third is know the hook. Fourth is craft your pitch. Like next is adjust your approach and expectation. The magic of follow-up, and remember to make it win-win. Small numbering error in this slide. I will correct it later. Let's move on. Genuine offer or intention. Now, this is really the crux. This is where it begins. As I said, we are trying to marry the Eastern philosophy and the Western science, the Western selling science or behavioral science that they talk about. What is the Eastern philosophy? The Eastern philosophy says Vasudev Kutumbakam, which means that we are one family, which means that there is divine consciousness in every heart. You are divine and I am divine. So why would I do something or propose to you something which I would not propose it to myself? This may be a crazy idea. Many of you may say that this is not right, and you have to sell what you have in hand, and you don't have you don't control things. I agree, but this is as I said, the Heartful Learners Academy is about change. We are supporting a change. We are proposing here that let's not sell and propose anything which we ourselves do not agree to. It is an experiment. It is a radical experiment. Yes. But this is what we are proposing here, that let us sell that which we ourselves would buy. If this one clear intention is not there, if this clear idea is not there, then whatever I'm going to talk about now is going to sound manipulative, because it uses a lot of behavioral science, and it makes you very powerful. So if this is not understood, the purity of intention, that I have done sales, and I have stood on counters, and believe me, when I stand there, people say things change, and I wonder what really changes. For example, sometimes people tell me, your presence just calls people inside, and it's really true. But I used to wonder why it is so. Then I really figured out it's because of the intention. My intention was always whenever I stood up for sales. You will be probably finding it in my voice when I'm talking to you right now. Is that complete, how do I'm completely worried about the person in front. I'm thinking that how can he benefit? How does he get his full values? He's investing his time. How does he get his worth? If he's giving money, how does he get its worth? Like for me, it's a very genuine, it's a very natural and genuine idea because of my so many years of spiritual training. But this is something that all of us have to kind of learn. And I also have a lot to improve in this area. And I was reading some great books on selling, and say enthusiasm in selling. Enthusiasm in selling is a key factor that makes the sale really potent, which adds a lot of energy to the sale. And this enthusiasm, I believe, comes from this honesty of intention. When your intention is pure, the real motivation force, that becomes a real motivation force of an effective salesman. Yes, you can fake that energy. I will not say no, but here we are talking about the real stuff. I want to quote here one example. One sister is very, very noble-hearted and very, very nice person, and very, very caring person. And she was sitting on a donation counter, and she collected a lot of money. People came and gave, and after that she left. Then other people came, and they're just sitting there casually talking, mobile. So I was just looking at that. Why that one person, when she was sitting, there were people who came and gave donation. She did nothing, but it was just her presence there that made people come to the counter and give donation. And once she was out, there another batch of people there, and they were very casual, chit-chatting, not worried who's coming, who's going, And that was an observation that I'm putting in this context. That when the intention of the person is pure and strong, somehow it creates a vibration. Somehow it creates an energy field and attracts people. So let's go to the next slide. So how to connect? This is, again, we are talking about the, how do you, again, when we're talking about connection, there are two parts. One is the connect, and second is to make it effective. if you're not connecting, then making it effective is a lost story. First, we need to connect. You know, a lot of people who are from the spiritual side or the goodness side, they believe that if you connect to someone heart to heart, as they call it, then the game is done. The game is over. You have won the day. You know, I beg to differ. I think when you connect heart to heart, or when you have really connected with somebody, the story starts. What we must never forget is that the closure does not enough, and somebody getting touched by the heart was enough. Then this world would have changed a long time back. You know, this world would have changed a very, very long time back. But you know, there are so many saints who have touched our hearts, and you know, have tried to teach us something, and still we are struggling. Still we have not got those principles in. So, you know, in my personal view, and in context of this presentation, I think you have to begin with the heart and close with the head, because we will see this in the next slide more, that there's something known as self-interest, which has to be taken care of when we, you know, get into a relationship or when we connect. But here in this, how do we connect? You know, very simple. You know, think that the other person is you. That's the first principle. You know, that just think that it's actually you. You know, visualize the meeting if it is possible. Then visualize the meeting early and see it closing well. You know, if you know you're going to meet someone, visualize it. You know, and the meeting in advance, and see it closing very well in the mind of your eyes. If you project it, it will happen that way. This is something that my co-founder Deepak is an expert at. He, you know, let your words flow out softly, full of love, harmony, and respect for the divinity of the person out there. I call this the subtle Pied Piper effect. Leave space for spontaneity in what you do. You know, Hindi mein kahavat hai, meetha bol bada anmol. You know, when you talk softly, when you talk with love, and you talk with respect, with a lot of dignity to the other person, you have won 70% of the battle. Absolutely. You know, and if you can maintain this composure, you know, throughout your discussion and while you're interacting with the person, you will win 90%. You will, because, you know, there is something about, and if you're a heartfulness practitioner, or you may be meditating, you know, you may be meditating in any other system. If you can, you know, while you're talking, let the love, the spirit of love and harmony flow from you, from your heart to his heart. So while the words are going from your mouth to his ear, let the feeling of love and harmony go from your heart to his heart. So there will be a softening. There will be a softening of the person. You will see it. Next 5 days, please experiment it. You know, when you're talking to somebody next time, while you're talking from your heart, you just gentle waves of love you send to his heart, and you see how he melts, how he opens up. You know, but again, this will not happen unless what you're talking is truthful, unless it's honest, unless your intentions are pure. You know, this can't happen. You know, so you must have pure intentions. The usual things: body posture, your smile, look in the eyes, they should be very, 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 very welcoming. You know, you should not be sagging down, looking loose. There should be a bright smile on your face. Your eyes should be shining, you know, very eager in anticipation, and, you know, very giving the person who's talking full attention, you know. And if it's a big crowd, then you are kind of looking at everyone, making sure that no one is neglected. One very important thing in connecting is that you have to be ready. You should be trained to overcome the initial barrier. What I mean is that, you know, people don't like new things. You know, there is this a part of a brain which takes over and who wants to be defensive. So if you call somebody, you know, he'll shoo you off. No. You know, he'll put up a defensive barrier. So be ready for this. It's not, you know, it is just a human reaction. All people who want to connect with people first have to learn to take the no. First have to learn to be rejected. This is a very important training. You know, we have to learn to take that initial brick back and then gently enter into that conversation or relationship or sales, whatever it may be. You know, it's like the child, you know, when mother feeds the child will shake his head and doesn't want, small child, but slowly the mother will take care of the resistance and pour something in the mouth, and that thing is done. So something like that. You have to be ready for the, you know, that defensive barrier that the relationship is going to put up initially. Another thing that can help break the initial barriers is when you start talking, immediately in that relationship, in that person, look for something genuine to praise and appreciate quickly. Don't make it flattery. If you don't say something, you'll get caught. Something very genuine. You see about this person, his shirt, his sari, his the way he's talking, the fact that he came on time, the fact that he offered you seat, he may have given you a cup of tea, you praise him for that. Anything that you see, any courtesy that he's extended, you please praise him, because that will help break that initial resistance. Anyone who is praised will definitely, break that initial resistance, and you can move forward in that relationship. When you are connecting, we want to always remember that in our method of effective connecting, whether you're trying to sell something or whether you're discussing something, or be very honest, talk about the ups and downs. Don't be boastful. Don't try to show more than what you know, in the sense that try to overpower him. Try to be submissive in that relationship. Let his ego rule, let his presence rule, and you just take the very objective road of being, showing the upside of the points and the downside of the points, keeping the interest of that person in mind. There's something about human nature, which every normal human being, unless you are a saint, has this idea of, actually that's the next point. With this we step into the next point, the reality of self-interest. So my teacher, Revere Chariji, used to say that it is human nature to feel one up. When I was very young, I used to be around him, and I used to see people boasting, and I used to wonder that why this person is he's practicing spirituality, still he's boasting, still he's feeling, he's looking for so much of attention. What is this about him? Then my great teacher told me, it is human nature to feel up. Now this is a very potent statement. What do we mean by human nature? As long as we are human beings, we are going to feel the need to feel one up. There's, again, today I am using a bit of philosophy here, coming from my background of heartfulness. One of our key statements is that the evolution of human beings is from animal tendencies to human tendencies to divine qualities. So what does it mean to be an animal quality? Animal quality is that you cannot see beyond yourself. You do not know anything except self-interest. You do not even know whether the other person exists. Or you don't even care. It's just you. Maybe perhaps your family, but that's it. There's nothing more in your life except your self-interest. And that's okay. That's how I don't know. I don't want to be judgmental, but that's one category of people. The second category of people, which is a good category of people, is my interest above your interest. And these are the most of the educated people are in this class, where they are aware of your interest. They are educated enough, they are sensitive enough to understand that what your interest is. But it is human nature. It is human nature that my interest will overrule your interest. Okay? And if you are trying to connect with human beings of the type A and type B, you have to keep this rule in mind. You cannot connect with their heart and expect them to yield. It won't happen. You have to connect with their heart, but you have to close with your brain. That's where we started off. The second type of connect, where you connect with the heart and you close with your brain. I have seen great saints, I have been in, and great mature people, great business people who are absolutely selfless, great people. I had the, good fortune of being in their company. And I have seen, that when they try to close an idea, they will bring some element of self-interest in most cases. Because without that, it doesn't close. I have seen it close quarters. So when we go out there, say if some of you are volunteers of Heartfulness and you want to convince people to join Heartfulness, so you can begin with the heart. You can begin with the heart, touch them, make them feel. But when you close and you ask them to start, you have to give some benefit which is in their self-interest. You will have great personal focus. You will have great relationships. You will have balance, you will have joy in life. So why do we say this? We say this because we acknowledge the fact that there has to be, and of course all this is true. So we highlight these aspects which hits on the self-interest of the person. Otherwise, if you have just connected, a true connect with the heart, he will remember you. But if you're trying to influence him, if your idea is just I want to touch and let him remember me and that's enough, that's great, objective achieved. But if you're trying to influence, if your objective is to meet and influence somebody, maybe sales, maybe a relationship, maybe it's your job, maybe you're trying to woo somebody, or you're just trying to there's any interest, then if you have to influence the person, then you have to take care of the self-interest of the other person. There is no other way. The type C, that your interest is above my interest, is very rare. If you see such a person, bow to him. It's very rare. So it's best that we understand that the world is A and B, and we mold ourselves accordingly. Those who came in late, I just want to say that we begin with our heart and we end with our head. All this that we're talking about can be manipulation unless you have a very genuine offer, unless you have something which you will not buy, which you will not sell unless you're ready to buy under the same circumstances. You're a very genuine person. So all this comes first with the idea of genuineness, and then these techniques are applied. So let's move on with this. We need to understand that when we are dealing with type A and B, they will be attracted with what is it in for me. They need to know what is in it for me. Why should I do this? The type C will be motivated by the selfless aspects of your pitch, your vision, your selflessness. That is what will attract the type C. So the next part of our thing, once you have mapped, this is very important that we need to map a person. What is his level of self-interest? How much is his self-interest? How much is selflessness? How much is self-interest? And you should understand that, what is the degree of self-interest this guy has. And that gives you an idea that how you have to proceed with this relationship further. Do not object to his being self-interest, because it is human nature to feel one up. It's just fine. We are all human beings and it's just great. But important for us to map, what is his self-interest versus selflessness factor. High on selflessness, move towards a vision and deal with him that way. And if it is high about his self-interest, then you need to look at what is the hook, So this is very interesting. The next thing that when we get into interaction with people, or when we're connecting with people, you should know what is the hook. There was, somewhere in this presentation, I have mentioned this also, that this hook is extremely essential, because it is with this that you bait the fish. See the first line here. I will come to this slide again, but when you go fishing, you put a worm at the end of the fishing line, even though you love pizza. A great influencer called Dale Carnegie gave this line. When you go fishing, you put a worm at the end of the fishing line, even though you love pizza. What this really means is that fish doesn't love pizza, right? It is you who love pizza. But you are going fishing. You're going to catch the fish. So you must have on the hook what the other person likes. It is really common sense when I'm talking here like this. But most of the time, we miss this aspect. If you want to be effective with your relationship, when you know something genuine and you want to influence the other, you have to close with the hook. You have to hook the person. So this, what you see here is a Maslow's pyramid of hierarchy of needs. What this really means is that a man starts with physiological needs. Roti, kapda, makan, food, money, clothing, shelter. These are the basic needs of the person. And if a person's needs are not satisfied, then this is going to be called the physiological needs. Only when these needs are satisfied, in most cases, then the person evolves to something known as safety needs. Where he needs to feel safe and secure. His insurance policies, his things like the safety of his family is ensured. The physical safety of his family is ensured. These aspects is what he's looking at. Longevity. Once this is ensured, the next priority that comes in a person's life is love and belonging. Then he looks for love. He looks for emotional support. He looks for relationships. That's where this thing becomes important. Once a person has got enough of this, then he goes up to something known as self-esteem. Esteem is, pride, ego, self-worth. He wants others to praise him because he's got the rest. He's got the money. His family is safe. he's got a good relationship. He's feeling emotionally secure, but still now he's looking for the, that I need to feel great. I need to feel real. My esteem needs to go up. And for this esteem, he looks for approval from outside. This is the next need, which is T4. And finally, a person who really gets this also, then he starts looking into the meaning of life. What is the meaning? You know that people with a lot of wealth start donating late in life. Crores they will donate. Because they start wondering, what is this life all about? Was this the only thing that it was all about? So this is known as the self-actualization need. Now, if a person is very strong on physiological needs and you are trying to offer him something on the relationship side, he may listen to you, but he will flip for any deal which is talking about more money, more security, more safety. He'll flip for those things. If a person is, looking for a lot of self-esteem and you're offering him money, it will not work, because his main money actually always works, to be fair, because it adds to the, what I mean is no one really escapes this completely. But what is going to be the lead factor? For example, say today 50,000 rupees may be very important for me versus somebody who's going to praise me. But if somebody is very rich, and if he gets a chance, he'll spend 50,000 rupees and get that praise. If he really feels that he's going to get a good public image, he will spend that 50,000 rupees. This is what I mean to say, that what is the priority? So you need to, when you go into, when you try to connect with a person, you should understand for what will this person flip. If he is a person who is going to talk about, if he's done everything, he's looking for meaning of life, then you need to craft an offer around that. That how this is going to help his self-actualization effort. Maybe you have something, but if you don't have something, then don't waste your time with him. He's not your customer, or he's not a person who's going to connect with you in these terms. So it is very important to know the hook. The next one is craft your offer. So before we get into this, I would love to open this up for some questions. I've been talking, and so I would love to take some questions. You can either chat or you can unmute and put up a question before we go further. Anybody?
So,
yes, go ahead.
If no one has a question, I would like to volunteer. See, previously, one a set of business, especially from a sales perspective, is like ice breaking. Then comes the rapport building. Then the kind of a presentation and closing. This is the order in which people are advised to proceed. Then subsequently, some of the training I attended, they said you do the ice breaking, where you build the relationship, where you kind of get to know each other. Then the second step is the rapport building, where you establish the relationship, and the third is you do the closing. Like you do a kind of elevator pitch.
So what's the question?
So the question is, the pattern is changed. That's what I observed. Where you instead of pushing, you try to make it a pull. The change in pattern, is that something you also agree that instead of pushing something?
In today's. Thank you for your question, Regu. In today's presentation, I am not talking about sales, though you can use this for sales also.
Correct. Yeah.
I'm really talking about elements of a true connect. It could be anything.
Correct.
Parent connecting to the child. It could be a relationship connect. It could be a sales connect. It could be a teacher-student connect. So I don't want, I'm not looking at it as a sales paradigm. So that's how I would like to respond right now.
Got it. Yeah.
So we will probably take this up in the community and take this up a little more and discuss it. The context of this is connection. Let me continue. Thank you, Regu.
Welcome. Yeah.
Let me continue unless there's any other question. Is there something in the chat? Let me see. I I think to first connect method also works if you are truly have faith in your guide. This is my personal view. Yes, yes, brother. Yes. Thank you, Rogesh. That's a very nice point. Thank you so much. So now comes this point. Once you understood the hook, you understood for what you have done. First, you have created a very good intention, pure intention. Okay. That I am going to connect with you in a way and don't tell you anything which I don't believe to be true, or don't sell you any product which I will myself not buy under your circumstances. Having done that, you map the person's self. All large number of people will have some point of self-interest which you need to identify, and then you map the person, that what is his hook. Is he a guy who's going to fall for money? Is he a guy who's going to fall for a relationship? Is he looking for emotional security? Is he looking for social recognition? Understand that person, and then you craft your offer. Now this is when I have used the word offer here, again it looks like a sales thing, but actually that's what I said. You have to close with your head, even if you are dealing with other relationships. Because a person is temporarily very touched. He'll be temporarily very enthused, but what keeps him going in that direction is his self-interest. So remember a presentation where I had talked about 25 cognitive biases, where these are mental biases which makes us take decisions against our conscious thinking. It's like a trigger. If this happens, we'll do it. It's somehow our brain is hardwired to respond. So out of the 25, there are these 6 which are usually used, to make a person sway. You craft an offer. It's not just the price. It's not just you're telling something, I have this, you buy this at this price. No, that's very, very. It's like, or in other words, you tell your child this food is good, have it. It's very plain. Or if you're you're trying to woo a girl, you say take it or leave it. That's me. I have tried my best. It doesn't work that way. Yeah. So there are certain touch points. There are certain things. You look after you finish this presentation. You look at some lovely sales pitches of the world. Great salesman. You will find this 6 things in his speech guaranteed. You will see the 6 things in his offer. You look at people whom you admire. And you'll look at the decisions when you have said yes. Remember the time when you said yes, and you see which of these factors were there to influence you when you said yes. It could have been yes for anything. So the first thing is that you need to catch the interest in the first 10 or 20 seconds. The impact. That is where you have to use the hook. If you don't use your hook in the first 10 to 20 seconds, then that person's interest is lost. And this 10-20 seconds is becoming lesser and lesser nowadays. So the hook has to be used. And then once your hook has been used, then you have to craft your offer using the 6 cognitive biases. The first thing is the reward bias. What do you get? What is the great benefit that you're going to get? What is the great problem that of yours will get solved if you get into this? Second is anti-pain bias. Human beings don't like pain. The brain runs away from pain. So you have to tell them that if you don't say yes, then this is the pain that you're likely to go through. Now this is, yes, this therapy is worth so much, but yes, you may say it is expensive, but look at the alternative. If you don't take up this therapy, then this can happen, this can happen, this can happen. This will cost you 10 times the money that we are talking about. So the person is not only getting a reward for the therapy, but he's also you're bringing the pain element in here to bring him closer to so it's like a pull and a push. The pull is the reward, and the push is from the pain side. It brings them to the objective of saying yes. Certainty bias, social proof. A person likes to be certain. He doesn't want to take risks and uncertain things. So what this means is that you create an atmosphere of social proof, of testimonials, of so many people in a building have done it, so many people in the city have already done it, or this is a testimonial from this particular person which talks about it. You have to create a certainty bias in your mind. then I like you bias. A person will normally deal with someone and likely to say yes if you like that person. If you like the person, he's going to say yes. The more you like him, the more likely you're going to say yes. A famous example is if there are 4 shops on the road selling the same thing, who do you go to? You go to the person who you like, isn't it? If there's not much difference in the products that you're buying, you prefer the shopkeeper who's courteous and whom you like. The value bias, this is a big one. Everyone wants to save money. Rarely will you find a person who doesn't want to save money. So how do you craft an offer? How do you create a value proposition which a person feels absolutely convincing that, oh, at this value, this is just great. There is no doubt about it. If you can do that, then it is fantastic. Then scarcity bias. This is another one that works very well. Is that if you're about, you have to say something you want to get over. A person who feels that something you want to get over, he's willing to take. Nowadays, a lot of sales, you'll see these timers running. Timer is getting over. What is the timer? The timer is nothing to create but a scarcity bias. If you go to Amazon, they'll say last 2 pieces, last 3 pieces, last 1 piece. It's just to trigger you to take the action. So if you are into, if you're about to kind of close the meeting or something like that, you can always say, unfortunately, I would love to continue, but there is something that this is available only today. We can always be friends, but this deal may not be available. So you create this scarcity in that proposition, and believe me, there is absolutely nothing wrong. Again, I have told you that as long as what you're offering is great, as long as you're convincing, as long as you are sure that what you're offering is something that is very useful to that person, there's absolutely nothing wrong in using these offers, using these techniques. These are the techniques which has made America great. This is the great in terms of wealth. This is what great salesmen use, So let us combine our Eastern philosophy, the goodness of our heart, with this Western philosophies of marketing. Let us not, let the good people succeed in life. Let our goodness grow, and let us use these techniques. So most people will fall for their self-interest. It is just how you communicate it to them. That's this is what the summary of this slide. They will fall for their self-interest. Is just how you ought to communicate. So this is another thing which I had touched a little earlier also. It is just not important to know yourself. It is very important to adjust to what kind of person is there in front of you. I went through a training program from a trainer called Ty Lopez. I credit him for this knowledge. He classified people in 4 types, which I really liked. P for practical, A for action, S for social, and E for emotional. So all broadly, it's not that one person is only of this one type. There can be, but predominantly he will be one thing will be strong in him, and the other things will follow. Okay, so when you're dealing with a person, you have to understand. If it's the first time, it is difficult to find out. But if you have a certain history of relationship with a person, you have to understand what this is. What kind of a person he is. For example, I am very strong on E. I am not very thick-skinned. I am thin-skinned. I think from my heart. I am sensitive. I am but on the opposite side, I am empathetic. I can connect very well to people very fast. So when you're dealing with me, you have to have a range of expectation. How will you approach me? What are you going to expect from me? There are certain people who are the action type. The CEOs, they will act before they think. They always want to be doing. They want to be pushing. They are aggressive. They want to take decisions fast. With them, you have to approach. You have to go with their speed, because when you move with their speed, they respect you. They respect you for what you are. When you deal with an emotional person, you have to go slow. You have to talk in a sensitive way. You have to talk about things that he connects with. And it may take time. You can close fast with an action type of person, but it may take time to close an emotional type of a person. Take a social type of a person. So many of our youngsters are social type. They like to know you. They want to be your friends. They don't want to upset you, and they don't want you to upset them. And even if they want to tell you no, they will tell you yes, 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 yes. So will you buy? Yes, yes. Tomorrow we will talk about it. Yes, yes. It's a good deal. Tomorrow, sure, we will discuss. And then he will not pick up your phone tomorrow. Why so you don't take it personally that this person is not picking up the call. You have to understand this person is a social person. Till he likes you, till he becomes comfortable with you, you should not talk about closing anything with him. You should not about any commitment with him. So let's take a framework of a relationship. Some people some people will commit early. Some people will take time. The social people will take time. They have to like you and this, that, and finally, when there's a high amount of comfort, you can talk about closing that relationship. The practical type, the accountants, they're logical people. They are not emotional. They don't care whether you like them or not. Their logic has to be satisfied. And you have to give them time from the logical perspective. If they are satisfied in their logic, they will go ahead with that relationship. So even in a relationship, don't look at it from a sales perspective. Even if if a girl likes a boy and she's a very practical kind of a person, and she needs to have some closure with that person, she has to understand what type of practical, how practical is that person, and what will convince him, what will make him swing. And you have to craft and you have to change your approach and your expectation. Each of these people have to be closed and approached differently. They will need certain amount of lead time based on how they are for the nurturing. Here, I just added this additional point that whoever you're dealing with, non-violent type of communication, non-hurtful type of communication is always the safest way to begin. Sometimes controlled aggression may be needed, especially if it is action kind of a person. If you are always soft, you may have to sometimes be a little aggressive to win his respect, and but that is once in a while, just to get things a little moving. And we should also know that softness does not mean not determined or persistent. Normally people consider that when you're soft, you're not persistent or you're not determined. Absolutely no. You can be very soft and you can be very determined. In summary, what I'm trying to say here in terms of communication style is that 70, 80, 90% of the time, soft communication will work. 10, 15, 20% of the time, sometimes you have to get aggressive to win the other guy's respect, or aggressive to get into the, you have to make your point damn clear. You have to break the glass. But having said that, even when you're breaking a glass, don't lose control of yourself. Let the love from your heart keep flowing to his heart. You are doing it only as a gimmick to break a barrier. So this is how it is. And let's look at the next point. So this brings us very close to the end of the presentation, the magic of follow-up. People, when you connect with a person, most of us, many of us, this has been a problem with me also. We look for closure very fast. Oh, I sent an email, he did not respond, he's not interested. Oh, I called up, he did not respond, he's not interested. Oh, I spoke to her, she doesn't seem to be interested. Hello, hello out there. People are, let us say 97, 98% people are not interested. You're right. Only 1% or 2% of the people will actually get influenced, by what you are saying the first time when you talk to them. Influence, there's a difference between touching somebody's heart. He may be impressed, he may like you, but his logical mind will not be convinced. The closure will not happen in his mind till you are not going to be able to win the mind side of his game. And the mind side of his game is won over a time. The time period can be few weeks, few months, few hours, 30 minutes. Take an example when you go and buy a car, a salesman, is the salesman going to say, can he try to close the deal in 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes? No. At least 30, 40 minutes he has to spend with the customer. At least minimum for him something to happen. And that also may not be good for closure for a car, unless the person has already come with certain amount of research. So whenever you get into a relationship, you have to understand that it will not close the moment you start the pitch. You have to curate that relationship. You have to work towards it. People who marry eventually, there's a long period of courtship. where you get to know what is this about. It is nothing but the magic of follow-up. Keep meeting again and again till you are sure, till there's trust building. So when we want to build effective relationships, we should not be in a hurry. We should not rush. Whether we're trying to build a spiritual relationship, a material relationship, whether we are trying to sell a product, or we're trying to gift something very beautiful for free, people will not accept your free stuff also. You see people on the road who say, take it for free, you just throw it away. I don't want, go away. People are not ready to engage with you when you meet them first. That's a human thing. And if we understand this, then we will be able to connect effectively, because we would have planned for it. If it is a digital world, there are digital ways of doing it. If it is a real world, there are real world ways of doing it. For new relationships especially, I have been talking about these things earlier also. Know, like, trust, small conversion, big conversion. First, you have to know the person. Then you have to like the person. Then you trust the person. Then you will do a small transaction, a small conversion. Maybe the boy and girl have started liking together. They have gone out for a movie. That's a small conversion. And then they get into bigger things. That's a big conversion. So take your time. Let it happen. Because if you push for the small conversion or big conversion earlier, then what happens. So you get a slap on your face. That's what's going to happen. So know, like, trust, small conversion and big conversion. Another thing that in the magic of follow-up that is contextual here is that you have to walk the talk. People are always observing you. It is not the big things that they see, but they may appreciate for the big things, but they notice the small things. How are you keeping your words? Are you consistent? Is your behavior consistent? Are you consistent with what you are trying to say here? Are you doing things consistent to what you are saying? Then that reliability, trust and dependability begins. The likeness factor begins. You may ask me a simple, what makes one person like another person? It really depends on what the other person appreciates. Simple answer. If somebody likes humor, he likes humor. Somebody likes seriousness, some depth of thought, he will like serious depth of thought. Somebody likes being light and jovial, and somebody likes commitment and trust. So you have to approach the person on the likeness factor. But reliability, trust and dependability, if you're looking for a long-term relationship, if you're looking for a long-term customer, then these are the things that will really go a long way. Like reliability, trust and dependability is the cake, and the likeness factor is the cream. When you put together, there's a lovely pastry that you can have. One small, disclaimer you can say that I would like to put here is that no one ever won everyone's support. So when you're looking for an effective relationship, please bear in mind that no salesman sells 100%. Not every date you can win. Not everyone you can convince. Not the whole world you can influence. There will always be a section of people who will not agree with you. And there will be a section of people whose taste is so diverse, whose priority is so diverse, that it is in conflict with what you are. Let it go. Be at peace. Let them be. Be in the comfort. Be in the zone of doability. Don't try to go into a completely alien territory where you are completely different. And to be able to influence him, you will have to change your value systems. You will have to change your style completely. You will have to just be not me. So is it worth it? Is that connection really worth it? So an effective connection is really something which is a win-win connection. People believe that if I let that person run all over me and he is happy, that is effective relationship. No, it is not. It is not. Then there are people who believe that I will lord over him, I'll manipulate him, and as long as I am winning, it is an effective relationship. Sorry, that is also not an effective relationship. The effective relationship which Heartful Learners Academy talks about, which is a confluence of the spiritual knowledge of the East and the management science of the West, is a win-win relationship of mutual trust and respect, where the relationship flowers to each other's benefit. Maybe little here, little there, okay, but you have to be crafty enough, smart enough, and loving enough to make this happen. So great. With this, I sum up my presentation and I'm open to questions now. Thank you so much. Yes. So guys, if you liked it, can you put I like it in the chat box as a feedback? Because most of you don't reply in our group, and it really surprises me. Out of you, only 4 or 5 will reply. So at least in the chat box, if there is something, it gives a feedback. Yes. If you really like it, say I like it. So I will know that how many of you, about 22 of you attended, 1 or 2 have left, and it's fantastic. By the way, today we had only 22 pre-registration and 22 people attended. Thank you so much. Yeah, so it was nearly like a full house today. Maybe someone would have joined in the link, but it was really great. One more request.
थर्मामीटर में सर डलवाने के चक्कर में 2-3 दुकानें देखी.
Yeah.
आज इधर भी सब बंद था भावना कॉम्प्लेक्स.
Somebody has gone on unmute. So thank you so much. It's 8 o'clock, and I request, like always, please give your feedback in the group so that others feel encouraged to take advantage of such webinars in the future. So if there is no other question, we will say a loving namaste and thank you to everyone, and see you next Sunday again. Okay? Something special is going to happen this week in the group. You will hear about it, and we will meet again next Sunday.